What's happening, everyone? Just going to walk through a bit of an outlook for the week, coming into the week. So let's get into it. So Euro currently on the 4 hour. As you guys can see, we've kind of pushed down and we've had a really good major inducement to the downside, which is then where CPI has done its thing and had a major inducement to the upside. And now we've pulled down and had a medium inducement. So given the nature of this pullback and the liquidity build-up itself, buyers do actually seem more likely to continue with the buying momentum that we've got, obviously, on the higher time frame. So that's what I'm kind of expecting here. But this CPI wick is what kind of makes it very, very interesting for most and what will confuse most of you. So I'll do my best at breaking down this wick hourly. Not much we can do with, given that this entire wick basically is an hour move. So what I've kind of done is broken down this week so far. So like I said, we had that medium inducement, so a medium inducement, medium take liquidity here, and then we've kind of pushed up to the upside. It's looking like this could create a new leg of structure and come and take this higher. So you've got to kind of look at this and understand the likelihood of this holding first. Given that we have just given a clear inducement to the downside, I don't think this actually holds a lot of weight in terms of possibly doing that. But you've got to expect that it can. Okay, we have had a major inducement that's led to a push to the downside, and we're not sure if this is an inducement or this is an inducement. So we've got to treat it as such. So in the top of this wick, we've got a very, very nice 15-minute supply point with good imbalance here. This is actually a large pip. I think it's 40 pips. So even normally for me, this is too large. But given that we haven't reached this yet, I'm going to mark the entire thing out. And I believe that's kind of the magnet on price for the week. But to end last week, we had that sell that I sent to you guys in the Telegram here off of this medium inducement. So we took a supply point of this low here. You obviously have extreme, decisional, and then you had your low. So that was the medium inducement that we had, and now we've kind of started working the downside. So what I'm saying is this is more looking like a complex pullback, either to come down to lower points or to invite those sellers in to then continue to buy. So I'm only really seeing buys for today. Walking through the 15-minute here, we have induced a 15-minute point of liquidity here. I can remove that 15-minute liquidity here into the mitigation of a supply to demand that broke through that high, which is very, very clean. So the manipulation on that time frame is clean. We've also had a 15-minute two leg that has also been induced. So we've got multiple medium inducements inside this range into this mitigation, which I believe is enough for the inducements low to then push high. So I'm looking for buyers coming into today. There's only one way I'll look to sell. So this point here is responsible for this internal break, but as we know, it didn't lead to the external break or lead to a bigger external break, obviously. So this doesn't hold a lot of weight. I believe it holds enough weight to give a reaction, but that's about it. So if we don't create any liquidity in this range here, I'm going to keep buying. And what I mean by that is if price wants to push up, come and take some liquidity here, build some sellers, and then we can get that type of movement. I'm happy to sell from the mitigation of this. But if we don't get any liquidity build up and we keep doing what we're doing, I'm going to treat this as a seller's trap. Reason for that is it's a weak point given that it hasn't broken through the low, and we are inducing low to push high constantly. Okay, we're inducing low to push high constantly. So I believe what this is going to do is push us to the downside to induce low, create more liquidity to the upside to then buy. So that's my outlook coming into the session so far, especially with how aggressive we are. Okay, we have got this area of demand here. You may get this small inducement here that will give us that push up. That'll give us the inducement here where we can sell or buy, and that'll give that 50-50. But if it doesn't do that, if it wants to continue to push up to this point, I'm treating this as weak and I'm looking to sell, looking to buy, sorry. Now on to GU, more or less the same type of situation. We've just got better 15-minute structure. So on the 4 hour, really, really clean, push down an inducement of a major inducement into the rest of this mitigation. If we mark that out, obviously I just made it smaller just to kind of pinpoint that area. But we've had a really good major inducement into a mitigation, and we're expecting the liquidity taken here is enough to kind of get a reaction to the upside, maybe come and fill some of these points here or the imbalance that sits above this area here. So this actually means and makes a lot more sense compared to EU. Then jumping down to the hourly, obviously we've got that CPI wick, which has made borderline equal highs. It did induce, but it's borderline equal highs. So I'm going to treat it as equal highs. I'm not going to read too heavy into that. And then here we are on the 15-minute. Yeah, so basically what we've had, if we read this range, you've got high that hasn't led to a low. So by having a high that doesn't mean to lead to a low, this for me is a seller's trap. Okay, so all I'm looking for as a reason for a seller's trap, what we've got is a push down, clear inducement that's now pushing price back up. That's created enough sellers. So this, I believe, will drive the market and kind of explains my outlook on EU, given that this is a weak point. This point led to an inducement up or a break up. We're not sure yet, but this hasn't led to anything. So this for me is just generating liquidity. And when we look at cause and effect, major inducement, building liquidity in the opposite direction, I kind of want to buy through that. So that's what I'm looking for today. If we also look at this range, you've got high that leads to a low here, that leads to a high, that leads to a low. And in this range here, there was no take of liquidity. Everything, as you can see, no take of liquidity, small take of 1 minute liquidity, not interested, no take of liquidity here either. So we've got no supply points that necessarily sit in here. That qualifies a supply point for how I look at it anyway. So what that kind of means to me is we've got seller's trap, and as you're getting reaction, and we're giving those seller's trap, building liquidity to the upside, pushing, building liquidity to the upside, pushing. And that's how you can kind of see the direction of the market changing. As we know, we've pushed down, we've had this inducement here that's led to the mitigation of this area. I've just marked out here, but this entire area is an institutional area. We've come into this point now, and now we're starting to get pushes to the upside. Just like on EU, more or less, that's the supply with no liquidity into it. So I'm not expecting price to do that. I'm more or less looking for price to push itself to here, give me some type of seller's trap, generate liquidity here, and continue to buy. So all I'm looking for on G and EU today is basically where it's going to build liquidity. If it wants to build liquidity above me, I'm going to look to target it. If it builds liquidity at where I'm at in terms of it pulls down, builds liquidity here, I'm quite happy to buy into that too. So I'm looking to either build liquidity where I am, push away and push into it, or do this but up higher. So build liquidity here, push down, push into it, and trade with the momentum of the market. Okay. In order for me to sell, I need to see exactly what I saw in EU, and that's in terms of inducement, bring in sellers, push, and I'm open to trade this towards this week low here, given that this point has more or less or possibly broken structure, but I believe I'm going to treat it more as an inducement just with the context of everything going on with EU and GU, higher time frame, lower time frame, where we're kind of headed. So looking for this to be a smart money trap, seller's trap, weak supply, whatever you like to call it, build liquidity in this area and then buy through that bad boy, targeting those highs, and then we can kind of go from there. So let's have a good week this week. Good luck to everyone, and I'll see you guys in the Telegram for you. You guys are in the free Telegram. For everyone in the VIP group, obviously we'll be going live a couple of times this week, and we can kind of go from there. So yeah, let's have a good week, and good luck everyone.